If you go to Google and type in the word experiment, one of the first things you'll see is the Stanford Prison experiment.
Which is a shame, because that piece of research is a load of bullshit.
An attempt to see what happens when you put really good people in a bad place. We put an ad in the city newspaper, wanted students for study of prison life, lasting up to 2 weeks.
This is one of the reasons why this so-called Lucifer effect, which is the result of this experiment, shouldn't be a thing at all. This is polarizing the study group into male college students. There's no women, there's no mothers, there's no parents, there's no people even in work, there's no people from outside the United States. 7 billion people on this planet, and this experiment claims to have found a psychological process that applies to everyone on the basis of male college students.
And we picked 75 volunteers, gave them a battery of psychological tests, and we picked 24.
So this study has now come down to 24 people. 12 of them are going to be prison guards and 12 of them are going to be inmates. So your sample size is now 12. 12 young men who've never left home to represent 7 billion people. I totally reject this. Is bad science. Whatever. It doesn't matter what you say now. There's no way this experiment showed something that should be at the top of every Google search of an experiment. There should be no way people are quoting the Lucifer effect, which is what the guy said the result of this study is. And for those who don't know, the Lucifer effect, basically under conditions of no consequence, people will react in an endlessly escalating bad way towards each other. Nah, it's bollocks. I bet any money if you ran this experiment with 12 middle-aged women, you would get a wholly different result. If you ran this experiment with parents, you'd get a different result. If you ran this experiment with tribesmen from little pockets of jungle who've never encountered the white man before, you'd get different results. You've got cultural bias to the nth degree, and no matter what you say about screening your applicants, they weren't tested for psychopathy, sociopathy. You don't know if there's a guy in there who doesn't have a conscience, and I know you don't know that because the psychopathy checklist, which is now used to determine if someone is a psychopath or a sociopath, wasn't invented for another 20 years. Hollywood made the film about the Stanford Prison experiment, and the film requires there to be a bad guy to fuck it up. Okay, you might say that's artistic license, that's how we identify with the good guy because a bad guy's present, etc, etc. That's how you make a movie. Yeah, that's also the only way Hollywood could conceive of this experiment going so badly wrong. Now, it is possible that there was a psychopath, at least one. Psychopathy is estimated up to 20% of the population. So statistically speaking, there would be at least 1 or 2 in this group, in this 24 people. One of them in the guards group. And he's not screened out. That's just one check on this crappy piece of science. This experiment needs to run again, with more people, with a greater diversity of people. If you want to claim Lucifer effect, you've not done it. Science, good science, should be repeatable. Now this experiment had to be shut down before its completion. How is that a repeatable result? It's bad science. It should never have made it into the modern lexicon. It should not be being quoted in a so-called intellectual circles. The Lucifer effect is not a thing. It's not a finding. It is a point of interest. These 12 young male students treating their prisoners with such cruelty is no basis to come up with a psychological reference that pertains to the whole of humanity. The only scientific basis that information forms is that there's interesting stuff to look into. And that's not to say that the Lucifer effect isn't real. It may be, but you haven't showed it.